It is 5:30 and I'm calling this meeting to order. First, a reminder that meetings of the Select Board are meetings conducted in public. They are not meetings of the public. Nonetheless, members of the public shall be afforded reasonable opportunities to express opinions about matters conducted by the Select Board so long as order is maintained. The rules for public comment are, at the conclusion of a Select Board discussion on an agenda item but before any action is taken, there may be 10 minutes afforded to public comment. Comments made by the public must be addressed to the chair, to the Select Board as a whole, and not to any individual members of the Select Board or members of the public. Members of the public must be acknowledged by the chair before speaking. If a member of the public has already spoken on a topic, they shall not be recognized again until others have first been given the opportunity to comment. Order and decorum shall be maintained throughout the meeting. Personal, impertinent, threatening, or profane remarks will not be tolerated. For those who are participating via Zoom, please note that chat is not an appropriate avenue for public comment. All public comments must be made verbally when acknowledged by the chair. Please silence all cell phones. A reminder to all that this meeting is being recorded and may appear on the internet. Are there any adjustments to the order of the agenda, Karen?
I have none.
Somebody else like board have any? Moving on to the approval of minutes of July 10th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of July 10th, 2024.
In a second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of July 10th, 2024. Has anybody noticed any changes, questions? Good. Everybody good? Mm-hmm. All right. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next up is the warrant to the treasurer.
Make a motion to approve the warrants to the treasurer upon completion of review.
And a second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the warrants to the treasurer upon completion of review. Karen.
Payroll warrant dated July 26, 2024 in the amount of $30,496.44.
Okay.
Pool, fire department,
Okay.
yeah,
Summer in full swing.
it is.
Okay. Any questions on the payroll?
Make a note that I do have a paycheck in here from the hours of the fire station.
Moving on to accounts payable.
Accounts payable dated July 13 through July 26, 2024 in the amount of $60,347.94.
Okay, any questions on that? Karen, I know you explained this one before, but what is Jack of all blades?
Jack of all blades is where we get some of our highway equipment, like our grader blades
Oh, okay.
and our sweeper roller and
Okay.
snowplow blades, but we're shopping around too, so.
Other than that, so-
But we needed grader blades.
Any other questions on the warrants? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on to public comment on items not on the agenda. Is there anybody in the room? Oh, but first of all, is there anybody on the select board who has anything to say? No. Anybody in the room? Anybody online? On items not on the agenda. Okay, moving right along to the town manager's report.
Lister's office reported approximately 52 grievances to date. Last day to file is Friday, July 26th. From a zoning administrator standpoint, I'm dealing with one appeal. I have 11 open files on my desk currently for zoning. And they're like, some of them are zoning administrator, a shed, a mobile home. There's a duplex, new construction, 2 potential PUDs, which are complicated, an ADU garage, change of use, and add another dwelling. So zoning is like a little overwhelming right now, but, and one or two of these applications also will require water and sewer connections, so those will be coming down to the select board probably the next meeting. So I'm trying to stay on top of it. And I am talking with Woodstock. It's ongoing about sharing a zoning administrator. And I'm meeting with the town manager in Chester on Friday. They're looking for an assessor zoning administrator. So I'm gonna have a conversation with her, see if we can coordinate and work together. Cameras were ordered for the highway department and the pool.
Cameras, meaning security cameras?
Security cameras, yes. And that'll pretty much cover all our public buildings. Cooper's Field will be the last one, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. The water fountain has shipped. Should receive it this week, and I'm currently working on the August 7th agenda already.
Okay.
So, busy. That's all I have.
Any questions?
I have a question. I don't know who it's for because I'm not sure who. We had asked that the interim fire plan report to the department, report to the select board. And I just don't know if that's Brian's responsibility or your responsibility. Like, how do we get a regular report?
So Brian's here tonight, so I'm sure he'll be speaking during the EMS, so we can.
Could we just get that though, kind of on a regular, recurring,
Put it on.
put it on the agenda just so we get a little update, maybe every other meeting or something?
I think this would have been every other meeting except for that. We're kind of doing the EMS thing tonight, so I didn't want to like overshadow that or anything.
Yeah. Well,
Kinda.
maybe we could do
Yeah.
them separately,
Yeah.
because they are two separate things. Just a little update on the
Yeah.
fire department
Right.
would be super helpful.
Okay, so is August 7th soon enough, or do you want to hear something today? Like,
What?
I mean, yeah.
It sounds like it's
Are you
not a big
prepared to give-
report.
I mean, not really, but I can tell you what I can. You know.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm not expecting like a big giant report. I just want a little update.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the town manager's report on the select board or comments? Good. Is there any comments in the room about the town manager's report? No questions. Anybody online have any questions or comments about the town manager's report? Okay, moving on to boards, committees, and commissions. Putney Fire and Rescue Advisory Committee status report, which has Peg's name on it. Sorry. Bad timing.
Yeah, we had our first meeting on, Ryan, what night is that?
Monday night.
Monday night. Yeah, and so we're off and running now, so that's the report I have.
Okay.
You know, the other part of the report is, given that we got started later than we anticipated, it's likely that we won't be getting our report to you, back to the select board, on the schedule of it says on the
It says September,
resolution,
yeah.
it says September, but
Yeah.
it will be more likely to be early November. I think
Okay.
that's what we were aiming for.
Okay. Anybody on the select board have questions about the start of that committee? The outcome of the first meeting? Anybody in the room? Anybody online? Karen?
So I just want to state that we will be doing minutes and posting them on the website.
Okay.
So if anyone's interested in knowing what's happening, that's where you can find them. And people are welcome to come to the meetings as well.
Okay. Great. Any other comments? Okay. Moving on to the EMS Model Reactivation Plan, which has Billy's name on it. Billy, you ready?
Thank you, I am. Would it be okay if I read a little statement?
Yeah.
Okay. The EMS reactivation plan under consideration is a result of extensive work over the last several months. As most are aware, since department operations were suspended on April 4th, we were compelled to quickly devise an interim strategy to assure continuity of coverage in town. Thanks to quick work by Evan Martin and Rescue Inc. Chief Drew Hazelton, Rescue Inc. agreed to step up and help us bridge the gap. Specifically, our active Putney providers not already affiliated with Rescue Inc. were onboarded there, very quickly paving the way for us to continue to serve the town of Putney without interruption, albeit under the aegis and license of Rescue Inc. instead of the Putney Fire Department. Rescue kindly provided us a fully stocked rescue vehicle, which undoubtedly many have seen staged at the Exit 4 Park and Ride 24/7 since early April. We owe Rescue Inc. our deep gratitude for stepping up in this manner, and even though I'm not sure I'm duly authorized to speak on behalf of the town of Putney, let me take this opportunity to thank Chief of Operations Drew Hazelton and Director of HR Emily Wilson and everyone at Rescue who made this possible. So thank you. Eventually on May 25th, the fireside department was reactivated with Brian Harlow in the position of interim chief. The Rescue Inc. contingency EMS plan was still in place for medical coverage, but with interim chief Harlow in place with a reactivated fire department, the conversations could now turn to how we put together a plan to reactivate Putney's EMS service. Working with interim chief Harlow, we were able to craft a plan that calls for reactivating an EMS wing within the department. The EMS captain will bear primary responsibility for running the EMS effort and will also fill the role of head of service, defined as the person who is the primary liaison with the state of Vermont EMS office. Evan Martin stepped forward with a potential willingness to take on this role. With a number of discussions ensuing with Rescuing Chief Hazelton, State of Vermont EMS Programs Administrator Ray Walker, and our District 13 Medical Director Dr. Jim Swosey, we fleshed out the plan before the select board tonight. Once we are reactivated, Putney Fire will be able to respond as needed with manpower to calls, and all licensed providers, including approximately 8 Vermont emergency first responders, also called VFers, who are currently Putney firefighters, will be cleared ASAP to respond to calls along with 2 additional EMTs. This will have a large and positive impact on our response capabilities. Once reactivated, a focused effort on recruitment of new EMS providers can begin. This has all been on hold due to and since the suspension of operations. In summary, the key points of the plan are: Putney EMS will be reactivated on or about August 6th. The service will be reactivated at the Advanced Life Support or ALS level. Evan Martin will be EMS captain and designated head of service. Daniel Garcia and myself will take on the role of lieutenants. Daniel Garcia is the designated EMS training officer. We will work with Rescue Inc. VEMSA, which is the Vermont EMS Academy, to provide our regular ongoing EMS trainings. Evan Martin has also offered to be the Putney representative to the District 13 board. So that's what I have, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I can that people might have.
Okay. Maybe on Selectboard have questions? I just, because I don't know the answer to this, so there's a medical director, the D13 medical director, can you explain what that?
Yes, each of the 13 districts in the EMS in the state of Vermont, EMS is divided into 13 districts. Each has a board, and on that board sits an assigned medical director. What are the other district positions?
Training officer.
Training officer for the district, right. And then each service has in turn its own representative to that board in the form of...
Each service, you mean each town?
Each
or
department.
Department,
And
okay.
yeah, any EMS service that's
Okay.
operating within the state of Vermont.
So Rescue has one too, I see. Okay.
Yeah, and that's, an important liaison between the town and the district.
Okay. Do other people have questions about this reactivation plan? We had a chance to look at it? Yeah. I mean, it seems to me that I don't, again, pretend to know anything about EMS service. I know more than I did 3 months ago. But it seems to me that it's pretty comprehensive. So I'm in favor of standing. I assume you want to vote from us to stand it up. Go ahead, Karen.
So I just wanted to make a comment, and I want to thank Billy, Evan, and Daniel. They also worked with Brian, Lenny, Eric, and I, and this is a solid plan. I like it and I support it. And what I've been seeing in the past month and a half has been solid work from these folks to get this department running and supporting this community with emergency services. So I just want to say thank you very much, because without you, I would have never been able to do this on my own. And Drew, I also want to thank you too. You're a critical player in this, and what you provide to this community is outstanding. So I just want to say thank you. But I 100% support this plan moving forward.
It sounds like it was a collaborative effort and also well thought out for the past couple of months, so
Yes.
that's also a point in its favor. Billy?
I just wanted to make sure that everybody here knows that this is Drew Hazelton, who's the Chief of Operations at Rescue. I'm not sure everybody knows him. Okay, probably don't. Right?
I don't, but I surmise.
It's nice to put a name to the face, or a face to the name rather. Heather?
I was just curious, and I don't know who wanted to answer it or who's more qualified to answer it, but I'm looking at this plan, and under the training thing, it seems to be very centered on the desire of the transporting agency's academy. I just didn't know if this was a permanent thing, an interim thing, or is there going to be work towards autonomy for the department itself?
You mean having our own training officers?
Right.
Billy, can you answer that?
Yeah, I think I can speak to it. I'm sorry, I don't think I can quite do this, so I'm just
That's
gonna
okay.
pretend I'm looking at you. Well, Daniel Garcia is our designated training officer, so we have a training officer in the department. I think the thinking is, one of the challenges is to try to distribute and disseminate the responsibilities that come with trying to run a department like this. I think one of the things that we ran into previously is, too many responsibilities were concentrated in too few people. Rescue Inc. and VEMSA, all they do 5 days a week or 7 days a week, 24/7, whatever it is, 365, is training. That's what they do. That's what the purpose of VEMSA is. Rescue Inc. also happens to be our transport agency partner. So if we can partner with them to help guide and run our trainings, at least initially, to me it just makes a ton of sense because they have the expertise, it's what they do day in and day out. It's one less wheel that we don't have to try to reinvent. And that doesn't mean, to answer the question that was asked, that we won't do trainings independent of VEMSA. We definitely will. And there's opportunities to train, for example, with Westminster or with Dummerston or whomever. But there's solid agreement that if VEMSA has the time and capacity to work with us as a department, that's a huge win for us. And it also means it has an added advantage, which means that our providers have FaceTime with Rescue Inc. providers. And so when Rescue Inc. shows up to transport a patient and they're running into somebody on scene, there's a chance they will have actually been in trainings together. And that kind of bond is actually really helpful on a scene. So those are some of the reasons.
That makes sense.
I have a question about, and I think maybe it's to Karen, about the payment, like the administrative cost there's a lot of administration involved in this. It sounds like with multiple people taking on administrative roles, that who may have in the past only had on-call roles. So are we set up to pay them appropriately for their administrative work?
For like a training officer?
Yeah, or for any of the, all the administrative work, any administrative work that might go into managing this system.
So I'm gonna say there's money in the budget for training. So whether they're on call, if we wanna look at a different structure and compensate people for being training officers, or like, you know, like a captain isn't compensated more money. Well, they are a little bit, depends on how many years they've been here. An assistant chief would be compensated, but we'd have to look at a different structure. And that might be part of a different model, or the model that's already currently in place. So we can shift. But right now, we're working on a budget that's already been set.
Did you mean like more like administrative stuff, say like, what's the name of the system you work on again?
ESO.
ESO. So do you mean more like
I
that?
think probably what you're talking about is like, somebody has to go through to set the training up. And are they getting paid for doing that?
Exactly, and somebody has to, do recruitment, and, somebody has to, so the people who are doing those roles,
Yeah.
are we paying them to do
They are
that?
getting paid
Okay,
for their time
okay,
at the rate that it's set at right now, but it's not anything extra.
right, so they
So-
are getting paid at
Yes.
the rate that they would be getting paid
Yes.
for on-call
Yes,
work.
yeah,
Okay, I just wanted
yeah.
to understand
I
that.
think that's a step up from the current model, right? Where there's very little compensation happening right now.
Well, you gotta figure like a training officer, right? They're doing a training, they're all together, right? So they normally would be there
Anyway,
anyways.
yeah. No,
Right?
fair, yeah.
If somebody were to come in and let's just say they needed to put in timesheets, right, in ESO, right? It's first thing in the morning. If that's not, they're getting paid to do that
Good. Okay.
because they're there, they're doing the
They're doing
work.
stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I just wanted to
So,
make sure
yeah.
that we were compensating
Yeah,
folks for the work that they were doing in
Yes.
this new in this new structure. So that was one of my concerns.
and we did that to like, anybody in an admin role, it'd be put into the system as admin and yes, they would get paid.
Okay, great.
It's not volunteer. Like, somebody cleaning the firehouse, they're getting paid. It's like, they're there, they're doing work, they're getting paid,
Okay.
so.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, how does that split out with the compared to the volunteers who are part of the Putney Fire Association? I mean, we have volunteers who are supporting the fire department as well, right?
I don't like using the word volunteer because all our folks are being paid,
Okay,
except for two. Because they just show up, every now and again, but
but they're not being paid because they've chosen not to be
Yes.
paid?
yes,
Okay, but they've been offered payment for the
yes,
work that they're doing?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think that's super important.
It is important and I want to make sure that it can stay that way because it just complicates
Right.
things.
I just want to note that there are some people who are more likely to volunteer, some classes of people,
Right.
i.e. women, who are more likely to volunteer than men are. And I just want to make sure that we're offering payment to the people who are working, who are doing the work for the department regardless of the work that they are doing.
Right. And even if two are volunteer, I have to check with the insurance because if let's just say they go on the truck, something happens, you know, they may not be covered under the insurance. So, and in that case, they will get paid.
Any other questions on the board?
I actually had one question,
Okay, go ahead.
but I'm happy to go
No,
somewhere
go
else
ahead.
and then come back. My other question is, do we have a job description for this EMS captain role? Is there a job description, or can we get a job description?
I think we certainly can flesh out a job description. I mean, I think some of the bullet points are embedded in here, but there isn't a full-fledged paragraph, but we could do that, and I could do that.
Yeah, I'm all for job description.
Yeah, that's a good
So we
idea.
can see whether, you know, we can just assess whether, you know, people have a mutual understanding about
Yeah.
what the job is.
What they're doing, yeah.
Well, basically, yeah.
That's fair.
Great, thank you.
I had one other question, and I'll go up to Laura. So the VFers. So what, can you explain that role? Because there's definitely a big distinction between them
I
and
have-
the EMTs.
I do have crib notes on this, but we do have an expert in the room, so.
Yeah.
Okay, expert in
He
the
can do
room.
it from
Can you
memory.
please explain?
So the Vermont Emergency Responder Program started in 2020 as a way for EMS in Vermont to deal with some of the challenges in workforce. It's an entry-level certification position in Vermont. The curriculum is centered around treatment of life-threatening emergencies. So it's focused on CPR, Narcan administration, and bleeding control. There's some other little pieces, but it's a very abridged curriculum to really focus on those type of injuries and illnesses that would cause death in a matter of minutes. So those providers can first respond in the community. They can work as part of a two-person crew on an ambulance. They cannot work independently on an ambulance in Vermont. It's the only certification level in Vermont. All the rest of them are license levels. It is also not transferable out of the state of Vermont. So
It's a Vermont thing.
it's a Vermont thing.
Okay.
It's also important to note that the way that particular certification is renewed is you have to take the entire training program again. So anybody that took it a couple years ago has to start all over again as part of the renewal process.
Okay. Okay, and it just, I think I heard that most of our VFers are also firefighters. Is that true?
I think a couple are.
At least on this list.
Yeah, I think there's a couple that are not, that are
Okay.
just strictly
Okay.
on the EMS side.
Okay.
It's a-
Really just out of curiosity. Any other questions on the board? Before I open it up. Laura? Chapman?
Hi, thanks. So I have a few questions. The first one is a clarification. I heard Peg say there are volunteers on the fire association and she was concerned about payment for them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the fire association a separate entity that's a nonprofit? And then I'm wondering why they would be paid by the town.
Yeah, I think that was just
Oops.
an oops, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then my next question is a bit trickier, and I think it goes to the job description, but I'm curious about chain of command. Would Evan Martin be working under the current interim fire chief? And if so, I guess I just want to express that there have been, it seems as if over the past months, there have been some complex moments between folks in the town and Evan, and not assigning any blame to anybody, but it's been tricky, it seems like, for people to navigate. And I'm just wondering how that's been addressed and how that will work going forward. And it's kind of a two-part question, because if Evan's captain of EMS what qualifications do our current fire chief have to actually supervise EMS?
As far as I can tell, this plan does not have it's not integrated in that fashion. It's more of a cooperative venture at the moment. Is my understanding correct?
Yes, to some degree, but I think I just want to be clear and thankfully we have the interim chief right here, so he can correct me if I'm wrong. But Evan's position as the captain of EMS sits underneath the interim chief in terms of the hierarchy. So Brian is the chief of the department and ultimately is responsible for the department. Evan is not an assistant chief and he's not, a co-chief. EMS is sitting under the umbrella of Putney Fire, of which Brian is the chief. So I know I'm not allowed to. I think that addresses the question that was just asked.
As far as hierarchy is concerned.
The caller's question. I think. That's what I heard the question to be.
Laura, did that answer
That
part of your question?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you for all the work that went into this. It sounds like it was really well done.
Yeah, I echo that. Laura, your hand is still up. I'm assuming you're done though.
I'm done. I'll put it down.
Okay, thank you. Are there other comments or questions online about this plan to reinstate our EMS service? Are there more questions or comments in the room? More comments, questions?
I just want to say thank you before we vote for all the work all of you put into this over these months. It feels really great to feel like all the trauma and difficulty that we went through as a town, that we're coming out the other end of it. So thank you all.
So I just wanted to say that, as we're having the interim fire chief put out reports every once in a while, if we could get one from either you, Billy, or from Evan, maybe every other week, so we don't make you all come to the meeting all the time. That would be really...
Every other meeting?
Every other...
How about once a month?
Once a month, there we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how we do that, yes, thank you. That would be really great. So can I have a motion, can I hear a motion to accept the 2024 Putney Fire Department EMS plan to reinstate the EMS service?
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the 2024 Putney Fire Department EMS plan to reinstate EMS service. Is there further discussion among the board? Any further comments in the room? Any further comments online? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
all of
Thank
your
you.
work. Okay, so next on the list is the Shared Energy Coordinator opportunity. Sue, do you want to explain that one?
Yes. So we're looking for a report over here now.
So Sue
I
Coakley,
totally forgot.
was there another thing?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine.
We'll go back and let's,
Yeah.
any updates?
I can I'm just gonna give you a quick,
Yeah,
kind of same. We've increased members by probably at least 6, I would say. Seems like we get a new person walking through the door like every week, 1 or 2. A couple more that are Firefighter 1 certified. A few that are interested in EMS as well. So, seems like we're getting, between 15 and 20 people at trainings every Tuesday night. Calls are getting answered, I feel like, in a good amount of time with a good amount of people on the trucks. things are going good.
So things are looking up.
Yeah.
Great.
How many calls have we had in the last, whatever, month?
Probably about 20, I would say. 20, maybe 25. But yeah, somewhere right around there. Yeah. That's just on the fire side of it. The EMS side of it, I mean, not 100% sure just because, but it's probably at least that or maybe even a little bit more. So, yeah.
So how many of those calls have been, false alarms, have fired things at Putney School or Landmark or?
I don't know, I would say probably 50-60%. We had a fire up on Aiken Road, a barn, good stop. Car accidents, nothing huge, but gotta go to all of them, so, yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Thank
Do you
you.
have questions for Brian? Anybody online have any questions for Brian about the fire department status? Anybody in the room? Okay, thank you. Now we can go to the shared energy coordinator opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Brian.
Which is Sue.
But you may do that, that's the meeting.
There. Sue Coakley, Chair of the Putney Planning Commission. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the question about the Shared Energy Coordinator opportunity. And I'm actually I'm known for efficiency, so I'm going to combine B and C together because they're actually the same thing. The energy grant opportunity. This is related to an RFP that came from the Vermont Department of Public Service. It's an energy efficiency community block grant program. They did an initial issuance of the RFP in late May that I didn't know anything about until they did a second issuance in July. It offered the grant opportunity several options that might align with our town plan. Came to my attention about 2.5 weeks ago, and the person who brought it to my attention from Wyndham Regional Commission, who was encouraging joint applications with other towns for things like energy coordinator, went on vacation. She comes back August 5th. Proposals are due August 9th. The proposals are a really big effort to write. So I dug into it a little bit more to understand what were our chances of being able to get what we wanted. And the answer is pretty little. And I don't think it's worth the effort to try to, in 5 days, scramble. And the money's very little, and we would not be at the top prospect list. It will first go to the environmental justice communities that have been identified by the Department of Energy. I looked up the map, and Putney does not meet any of the criteria for an environmental justice community. So the money is really targeted there. So that was one issue.
Is that a community that's been hit repeatedly by floods or something?
Well, that would be one criteria, but it's quite a lot. It's economic, it's income, average household income. And well, Putney is not the highest ranking community. We just don't. We don't have the profile of the communities that this is targeted for, and there's limited money. But I will say that we'll try to have a better screen for the Public Service Department RFPs. There were 2 other opportunities in here. We could have possibly gotten a review of a proposed siting for EV infrastructure across town. That would have been nice. Again, came to us too late to be able to activate that. And another one that is about building code adoption and implementation. And again, another thing in the town plan is actually to adopt the building code. That may happen with the zoning process, but training people to do the inspection or sharing a building energy code inspector across towns is a really good idea. Last thing about this is when I dug into the grant, it will fund setting these things up, but it won't fund the implementation of doing those services.
Okay.
And I thought, well, the town doesn't have the money necessarily to hire people. If we created a plan for, a building energy coordinator or a building code inspector. So I just wish that we had seen it sooner, possibly could have done something, but at this point, there's a lot of other irons in the fire, and I talked to the town manager about it, and she agreed that this is just not our priority right now, but we'll keep an eye out for future ones.
Does it come around yearly? Do you know? If there's another
I
opportunity,
would
or
say
is
that at the
this gonna
moment,
dry up?
things are sufficiently scrambled at the federal level, I wouldn't know how to answer that. Once upon a time, I did actually engage in federal grants in this field all the time.
Uh-huh.
There's an election coming up.
Really?
Yeah, I just thought you might want to know.
Yeah, okay.
And
Thank you.
that certainly has an impact on the timing of federal budget approvals and when what that turns into grants available to states and to communities.
Okay.
So what I will do is be in touch with the Department of Public Service to put me on the A list, along with the town manager,
Yeah.
so that we get notice of these things because we didn't.
Yeah.
So that might be the best, most important action we can take.
Okay.
But I did want to share with you this, and thank you, Madam Chair, for your opportunity to talk with me about what this could be for the community. And then when I dug into it and saw the timeline, realized
Well, hopefully
it's not the right time for
something will
us.
come up. Something will happen.
Right. There will be other opportunities.
Okay.
I'm sure of it. So
We're gonna do it at some
we
point.
will do it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for
Sue.
that. Are there comments online or are there comments on the select board?
Sue, did you mention that one of those grants you were thinking of would have been to adopt a building code for Putney?
It would be to inform, assist the adoption of the state building energy
Yeah, I was
code.
about to say, isn't there a state building code?
That's right, but it's implemented, it's statewide, but it's really up to the towns to implement it. There's not a statewide implementation infrastructure. So while there's a statewide building energy code, and it is the one that we should adopt, and it's been recently updated,
I'm just wondering why we would adopt something that already exists statewide, which puts us in a position, every time they amend that, do we have to amend ours? Doesn't the state,
Yeah,
I
it
get
could be
that implementation is at the
I think
local
formally adopting the state code is what they provided funding for. Some communities like to do an analysis of the new state building code update to determine whether or not they want to implement it. The state does not mandate that towns implement the building energy code. They support it, they encourage it, but they don't fund it. And it leaves the burden on towns to do the enforcement of the building energy code. So therefore it's up to the town to make it a requirement and to put an enforcement mechanism in place. When we update the building energy, the zoning bylaws, in that we can adopt the statewide building energy code, and I think we will consider it there. Then there's still the question, just as it is for the zoning administrator, how are these things implemented and funded? It is a special thing to understand how to review a home or building to comply with the building energy code requirements. Typically, in smaller communities like that, there's a shared inspector across towns who can do that job. It isn't just one, an inspector for one town. So I think as the Planning Commission prepares the updated zoning bylaws for the Select Board's approval, we'll be looking into other ways that a building energy code inspector or in services could be provided. And that's a longer discussion about what that might include, how it would be funded, but that would be my recommendation, is to adopt that, and let's work in the meantime to figure out how we could have a building energy code inspector, possibly shared with other towns, to make it affordable.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the board? Any questions in the room? Any questions or comments online? Okay, thanks for explaining that to us. Moving on to the Green Mountain Power Review and Approval. This is the two easements, right? Karen?
Yes,
That they presented to us last meeting.
yes.
And so they're looking for us to approve them. And oh wait, I thought there were two.
There are. West Hill Road and Westminster Road. They're all on one,
They're all on
Form,
one. That would be why.
with
I
two
only have
different
one form.
maps.
Okay, gotcha, thank
Yep.
you. So this is approved by all of us. So does anybody have any questions or comments about it? Go ahead.
One comment, I did happen, after our last meeting, I did happen to drive out the Westminster Road.
Yeah.
And notice that most of the poles are already there.
Well, that's fast work. So if we didn't approve it, they'd have to take them down.
They're there beside the other poles that are,
Like they already planted
Many,
them.
and many are just plain brand new poles. I don't think they actually have to ask our permission. It's within their right of way. I think they can do it. But I did find it amusing that we're going
Do
through
they-
the
yeah.
exercise.
Do they have, I guess they would have existing right of way, because they have, okay.
I didn't see any
Right.
place where they were putting a pole that wasn't
Wasn't
in the
already.
established right of way by all appearances.
Well, I wonder if the ones that, there could be poles that they didn't have in their right of way, new poles that they haven't put up, I don't know.
I don't know.
But, that's a good note.
Efficient.
Okay, so, are there other comments on the board? Any questions in the room? Any comments online? This is a, is it an easement? For Green Mountain Power to place poles on West Hill Road and on Westminster Road. And I believe they're also doing a section of Route 5, but that's a state highway, so they didn't ask us. Can I hear a motion to, what is this actually? To approve the projects? Would that be part of it?
Part of it.
I move we approve Green Mountain Power's request that for permission to locate poles, guys, and wires along West Hill Road and Westminster Road as set out in their proposal and maps.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, I'll try to remember what you just said. It's been moved and seconded to approve Green Mountain Power Corporation to locate poles, guys, and wires within the town highway limits of West Hill Road and Westminster Road as laid out in their maps. Is that close enough? Okay. Any other comments? Sue?
I just have one comment. This is a very important project. It's really part of climate resilience, and the town plan calls for the town in all aspects to improve climate resilience. And I believe that Green Mountain Power is really doing a good proactive job on this generally. I'm very glad to see these kinds of projects moving forward and for them to make sure we're informed about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. If I recall correctly, one of the climate resiliencies is that the poles are higher than the tree line. Number one, and number two, there was a guideline, or supposed to be anyway, and there was a guideline that if trees hit it, would not hit the primary wires. Is that
Good memory.
okay? So that those are the two pieces that that comply with our town plan. So, are there any other comments in the room? Any other comments online? Any further discussion among the board? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next one is the financials end of year 2023. Karen?
You all understood these, right?
I understood there were a whole lot of numbers on these records.
I understood it came from NIMRIC once again. My lovely NIMRIC reports.
So these are end of fiscal year 2024, June 30th. I will let the board know that these numbers may change. We have our first Teams meeting with the auditor on Monday, July 29th. So we will talk with them and try to get an appointment for them to come here and do the audit, and hopefully we'll have a draft earlier
Sooner, yeah.
than last year.
Yeah, last year was pretty late.
It was very late, and I won't do that again. So just to give you a snapshot, general fund looks really good right now. Again, I don't want to stick to these numbers because there may be some adjustments that need to be made, so these numbers will change. The highway department is showing a negative right now, but we just received a grant reimbursement for over $147,000 for the paving grant. And I'm waiting for a reimbursement about, I think it's $197 for the structures grant. So that'll bring this number into a positive.
For the highway department.
For the highway department, yes. The library's in good standing, they have a positive. I don't worry about the library at all. And then sewer and water, we still are collecting the last quarter payments that were due by July. So we billed the end of June and they have 30 days to pay.
Correct.
So those fees will come in and then we're gonna back bill them to fiscal year 24.
Do you expect that to cover?
Yes,
That?
I do.
Bump it into a positive?
Yep. And both of these departments are not bad. There are some years if we have to do a lot of work, extra work. I've seen them in the negative, but I think we're gonna be okay overall. I'm feeling comfortable with these numbers right now. And like I said, I can't foresee any like major adjustments.
For the previous year.
Yes,
And the audit will be on for the previous year, if that makes sense.
yes, it'll be for fiscal year 24.
Right. Okay.
So there's still a little more, a few more adjustments. I don't believe we will have a tax sale, so that money won't go into fiscal year 24. I think it's too late to do that. And with the reappraisal and everything else that's going on, the last thing I want to do is have a tax sale right now.
Okay.
So,
Any comments on the select board on the year-end fiscals?
Just that I know that's a lot of work, to keep track of this budget. Thank you.
it's okay because you're all going to be involved this year. Because I'm going to be training you how to read it.
You threaten us that every single year.
That is one of your responsibilities, by the way.
Yes. And they do have a class, VLCT does run a class called Accounting for Government.
I think I took that class.
I took
when
that
first
class.
Came on the select board.
I did too, and my eyes rolled back in my head, and all I remember is that I came away with a great appreciation for the person who was trying to train me because she was clearly very enthusiastic about her job.
Yeah. I do want to make another comment. I want to say that Kim Monroe right now is strictly treasurer.
Mm-hmm.
And she is on top of the numbers and details, and she is self-teaching herself and working with NEMRIC and watching, BLCT trainings. But that woman, let me tell you, she is all about the numbers like me. And she's getting her head into it, and she needs to understand, you know, the whys and the whens and, you know, and the hows. And so I think she is gonna be a good fit in that position. And having Lisa as administrative assistant, you know, Kim can focus on being treasurer.
Good,
So I'm very happy about it.
that's great.
Yeah. So it's coming together.
Okay. Any comments in the room? Any comments online about the fiscal report? It's a fascinating reading. Any other comments on the board? Okay, so, moving on to, select board old business, we don't have anything under that. So the next piece is the select board reports. Cannabis control board process, neat.
Yeah, I'm meeting with Rachel and JJ tomorrow.
Okay, good,
So we actually have a date on the calendar now.
nice. Next one is, select board operating principles. Pleasure.
Pass over B and C.
Okay. And controlling the use of alcoholic beverages on town property. I haven't gotten much further with that since I discovered that everyone has the same set policy from 1978 or whatever it was. So, I'm not sure. I think we have a work session coming up.
You
on
do,
Monday.
July 29th.
Monday, right?
Right.
Yeah, so maybe we can all sit down and hash out what we wanna change on that, cause I get the feeling that the majority of it is still relevant, but we may wanna change some language, we may wanna,
Add weed, where does weed fall into that?
weed.
Yeah, 'cause,
Um,
you know, like,
well, that's
do
a
we
good,
have an
could
ordinance
maybe-
around?
we have an ordinance around smoking. I don't know, it's not, no smoking on town property, right?
That is correct.
So Coopersfield would fall under that. I don't think we do have anything on cannabis, so we
We
probably
just
need
need
to
to think
Right.
about that.
fold that in, so that's a good
Yeah.
point, yeah. So, there we go.
Right.
All right, so, yeah, so if we could maybe do that on Monday, that'd be great. Do we need an executive session, Karen?
I don't know.
Okay. Does anybody else need an executive session? Okay. Does the public need an executive session? All right, so the next meeting, our next meeting will be on Monday, July 20, wait a second,
July 29th is
29th, I was thinking
special.
25th.
Special.
So, July 29th is a special select board meeting, we're meeting at the fire station.
Yes.
It's going to be in person only, but we are going to have a recorder there in some fashion because that's the law now, we have to record our sessions in some fashion. And the public is welcome to come. It will be a work session, so it'll be a lot of talking about policies and goals and whatnot. So that's that meeting, and then the next regularly scheduled meeting is on August 7th, 2024, at the town hall and on Zoom, and I will be in St. Louis. So I peg Peg for chairing that meeting.
But
I
you'll
will
be there on the 4th? You'll be there on the 29th?
I will be there on the 29th, yeah. And I'll try to zoom in, but sharing meetings from Zoom, I found out is not fun. So, can I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
6:30.